Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome into the Volquest Mailbag podcast. I'm Eric Cain alongside Rob Lewis, Austin Price, and Brent Hubbs. A lot going on right now this week with Tennessee football spring practice. Orange and white game coming up this Saturday. Football recruiting never stops. Baseball's happening. Transfer portal for basketball. Brent Hubbs, real quick, though, broke the story yesterday. Tennessee's found a home and home with Georgia Tech for the next couple of seasons, right?
Yeah, they have. Tennessee's going to go back-to-back 2 years to Atlanta, 25 obviously for Syracuse, 26 for Georgia Tech. We'll see if that game ends up being at Bobby Dodd or at Mercedes-Benz. That's going to be up to Tech and where they think they can make the most money, to be honest with you, I think is what it'll boil down to. But giving Tennessee short notice on that to be able to get that done, I think is a good work by the administration. And credit to, you saw Danny White tweet this out, credit to Georgia Tech for willingness to, I think they had to move a game around to make the dates work, but for Tennessee to slide a game in the same date in 26 and the same date in 27 as they had Nebraska against a Power 4 opponent, it's pretty fortunate because that's not the easiest thing to get done, and Tennessee found a way to get it done. So you're still got one neutral site game left on the horizon after 25. That's that 28 game against West Virginia in Charlotte, the ever-popular Charlotte-West Virginia Vol matchup. And then you've got Washington in 29 and Washington in 30. Again, the other thing here, Eric's going to be, what's the league going to do? Are they going to go to 9 games, stay at 8 games? Tennessee added Kennesaw State, the return of the Fighting Jerry Max to Neyland Stadium in 26. That was a deal that was done before Jerry Mack got the job at Kennesaw State. It just wasn't announced. They have a spot for one more non-conference game if you need to fill that in 26 with a payday game to go along with Furman and Kennesaw State. Or are you going to play 9 SEC games? I don't think we know that. I don't think you look at that and they're one under and you say, well, they're going to definitely play 9, but you obviously have a position there if they go to 9 that your schedule's done. If not, you're going to need to add one more.
A lot going on right now. You can follow it all right here at Volquest.com. Again, on the General's Quarters. A lot of questions. We'll jump down into kind of combine these, a couple of similar questions from DavyVol and JDVol98. Have the amount of players being out or limited this spring severely hampered the development of this football team, Austin?
I mean, I don't think it's been ideal. Obviously you'd love to have a healthier football team. Tennessee's been banged up in some areas. Obviously, they've been, down at linebacker. I mean, you're down your top corner. They've been limited some at receiver, just out of pure depth. And also a few guys have got banged up along the way. I do think it's probably hampered them a little bit. And I mean, hampered the development. I think that spring is so much of a time hubs for individual development. The guys that have been healthy, I think, have still been able to thrive and excel. I don't think that that's hampered them in any way.
Well, I mean, listen, there's some guys, Rob, that are not on the practice field that need to practice because they haven't played a bunch. Has it hampered the team's development? I don't know about that, but it's hard to get answers to questions when you don't have your full complement of people out there. And I think that's kind of where you are right now in some areas. Now, it's forced some young guys to get some opportunities and go and run with it. And I think that's what you're trying to accomplish when you're in spring practice, and Tennessee's tried to make the most of it. I think it's made scrimmaging somewhat hard.
Yeah, I would say that about scrimmages. It's a double-edged sword, though. I mean, at receiver, the young kid, Travis Smith, getting all the work he can stand. But if you're Kelsey Pope, you'd love to have, Amari Jefferson out there, see where he was at, or Staley, at full speed. So on the one hand, you get kids get a ton of reps, but on the other, the guys that you're going to be counting on are at some spots aren't, getting the cohesion that you're hoping to get in spring.
At what point does it concern you that you can change your outlook on the season? It's not to that point, right?
No. I mean, my outlook on this season wasn't going to be defined by 15 spring practices. And I'm not being critical of spring and saying that there's no value to spring, because there's value there. But if you're coming out of spring practice and you're determining what this team's ceiling is or what their floor is based on off 15 practices, I'm not sure you're ever going to get an accurate measurement of what a team looks like or what a team's going to be in the fall based on what they look like in March and April.
Yeah, I mean, what does the roster look like come mid-May, right? Like after the portal window, who's Tennessee added, who they potentially lost? What does the roster look like? That's when you kind of start to come up with an idea of what they are and what they aren't.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, when's Jermod McCoy back? Is he back week 1? Is he back week 5? When's he get back? When's Miles Kitselman good to go? I mean, those two critical components can change the outlook of the offense and the defense of this team as much as anything else out there on this team right now. And those are going to be unknowns heading into the month of August. How do they respond when they get back, physically on the practice field? Where's Arian Carter coming off the shoulder? And on and on and on. And you're just not going to have answers to those questions between now and August.
Is it fair to ask why there are depth issues at wide receiver and defensive tackle in year 5?
Well, let me take the tackle question. I'll address that one. And AP, you can jump in on the receivers, and Rob, Eric, anybody else. Keep this in mind about the tackle spot. Jamal Wallace is the guy you brought in as a junior college player to help you. Okay. And Wallace has not gone through a practice in this spring. Where's he at medically? Will he be able to play? Is he not going to be able to play? That's not something you counted on when you signed Jamal Wallace to create your depth and what you look like there. Nathan Robinson could very easily be your 4th defensive tackle if he can get out of the fiberglass apparatuses that wrap his body because he's banged up or having a surgery deal. He's got to get healthy, and he's got to stay healthy. He's been in a cast too much in his Tennessee career. So if Robinson were healthy and Jamal Wallace was going to be healthy, then we'd be all asking this question. Are they going to redshirt Campbell and Utley? Because now they would suddenly be 5 deep before you got to Campbell and Utley, who would be 6 and 7. But because you don't know where you are with Robinson and you don't know where you are with Wallace, now you're sitting there and you're saying Utley or Campbell might have to be your 5th, or you need to look in the portal for a 5th. So there's some circumstances that have developed there that changed kind of the depth numbers of what the defensive tackle position looks like.
AP, before you jump in at wide receiver, I mean, I don't think, like, to that position, I don't think you're recruiting a guy knowing, all right, this guy's going to plan to leave it via the transfer portal in 2 years. Like Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod, Squirrel White, and there's one other one, forgetting his name, 85. Like you don't sign these guys to just lose them in a couple of years. So I mean, I think it kind of varies year by year based on the hit you're going to take in the portal. This year, the wide receiver position took a big hit in the portal.
They did, and the facts are Tennessee, did not know a few of those guys. Now, a few of them did. A few of them they knew they were leaving, but there was a couple of them they didn't know were leaving. And by the time those kids decided to be gone, some of the targets like a Barryon Brown or one of the kids from Oklahoma or whatever were too far gone to other schools, either committed or already in the bag and just not announced to other schools. Tennessee reached out to multiple receivers back in December, and those deals were already struck and they were already locked in, and that just happens. I mean, there's been plenty of times where there be men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, football, where Tennessee reaches out to a kid that's in, and that kid's already, done to another school. So I think that's how you get in this position at receiver is a couple of kids leave that you didn't anticipate leaving. And then, you're not going to, they didn't want to just take a body in December. Now, would they do that now? I mean, I do think that they're going to have to. I'll be shocked if they don't go get a receiver to help out. But again, there's a fine line. I mean, you're talking about, you're not going to turn away like a dude, but at the same time, like, do you stunt one of these other players like a Brazel, Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, if you bring in somebody that's comparable to them, that's all of a sudden, thinking that they deserve playing time? How does that person mesh in the room? I mean, all those things you have to think about when you look at adding someone.
Well, and I think too, Rob, I mean, no offense to Kelsey Pope, if you've got 11 wide receivers, I don't believe that. I don't believe in this day and age you're going to carry a roster of 11 scholarship receivers who are quality guys that you think can play in your program. I think that number is too high. The question is, how many do you have to have? I mean, do you need 8? Do you need 9? What does that look like? And I think that's where the challenge is. In this day and age, I don't think you're going to carry as many DBs and receivers as you probably did, 5-10 years ago.
I think, it's true of a lot of places, but that was one where you could, kind of stack classes together, and maybe, guys weren't expecting to come in and play a ton as freshmen. But now when those dudes aren't playing as sophomores, out. And I think you see that at a lot of spots. But I mean, I think the number that Tennessee's bringing back at wide receiver is 36 total receptions that's Brazel and Matthews, 36 total receptions on your scholarship guys. That's thin.
Rob will stay with you here to get this one started. Gaterdawg wants to know any favorite off the beaten path spots you like to visit in the South, looking for a 45-day getaway. I live close to Destin, so don't need any Destin recommendations.
I can't think about off the beaten path spot I would want to go for 5 days. I mean, some off the beaten path spots I might want to go to for a weekend. I mean, they're off the beaten path for a reason. There's probably not a lot to do there.
I tell you a nice little hidden weekend place is over in the western mountains of North Carolina in the Cashiers Highlands area. That's a pretty cool little weekend getaway.
AP, you can't hide money, can you, AP?
Can't
hide money.
I'm not staying 5 days over there, but there's some good places to eat. That's a pretty good little place to hang out and visit some things.
You can't hide money. This is true.
Well, listen, you two, neither one talk to me about travel. I don't leave Corrington. The two of you, you take trips to foreign lands, and AP, you're going to have your 50 states knocked out with all your kids in like 18 months or something like that. So don't start with me on travels.
But you still can't hide money. That's what I'm saying. When you go big, and then only person I know that goes to Disney one time and then stays at the boardwalk.
AP's poor daughters are eating Happy Meals at Disneyland just so they can.
AP, you're gonna lose this. You really don't want to go down this road.
I'm over there in the value resort subs.
You've got your 2025 Tahoe. I've got my used Corolla. You've got multiple season passes to multiple Disney properties. I went one time. You want to keep going?
Brent, brag about the family vacations you took back in the day.
You can't hide money. You got money. I
squirrel my money away. I'm cheap, is what you're telling me. That's fine.
Spend all mine.
All right, we'll get back into it. Bruce_Vol, explain Monday's court hearings to me, Michael Scott style. Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
I don't know who Michael Scott is, so somebody.
The Office. Come on now. Anybody want to get this one, Brent?
I think this is a long process. I think the idea that everybody had this date in their mind and that it was over based on that date was just not realistic. There's a lot to sort through in this ruling and in this settlement. There are going to be multiple spinoff litigations and lawsuits and things to come out of this. I think this is a slow progression of results that are going to get there to some point. It's like everybody's talking about roster changes, and now there's a spinoff of that of maybe we need to slowly roll out the roster changes and the roster number changes as opposed to abruptly changing those numbers. The eligibility stuff is going to be kicked further down the road until everything is done with the settlement. What are they going to do? There's questions now. You got student athletes questioning whether or not they should be required to report their NIL rulings and their deals to any kind of enforcement arm or anything like that. So I think this is going to be a slow answer, not a quick, okay, that's over, let's move forward. A lot of money, a lot of back pay to people, and then a lot of what is the legal right of knowledge of information versus what is private to someone is something that's going to stem out of this as well. So I think there's a lot more questions than there is answers based on Monday.
Let's go to Rocky Top Rowdy 58. Trevor Duncan, is he showing any signs of being a player here? If he's buried at offensive tackle, could he flip back to defensive tackle? He says the second part of the question is a wild shot, I know, but considering you're thin at defensive tackle.
Well, no, I don't think he's going to move back to defensive tackle. I don't think they're going to yo-yo him back. If you did, he wouldn't be ready to help you in any way. It certainly feels like right now he's down Trevor's down the line on the depth chart at offensive tackle. So I don't know where his long-term future fits. Again, you have 3 established defensive tackles. And then you've got, Isaiah Campbell, who's a prospect that I think everybody's really happy with. I think he's had a good spring. He just might get sped up a little faster than you want. You can also slide Don Bailey inside and play some. You you're not rail thin, like, we can't manage enough snaps at defensive tackle. Just compared to where you want to be, you might be a body short right now. But again, if Wallace could play, if Nathan Robinson stays healthy, you're really not short or thin at defensive tackle.
DavyVol 5, will Tennessee ever own the state from a recruiting perspective again? Is this possible in this day and age? Seems like with the number of transplants to Nashville, et cetera, kids have strong ties to other schools. AP?
Yeah, let's go over it. I saw this question, and I was like, I really think they've owned the state since Heupel's been here. You're never going to get every player. Heupel Fulmer didn't get every player. Like, that's not a real thing. But when you look
good point, AP.
But when you look at, did you get 80% or 90% of the guys you truly wanted? They've done a fantastic job of that. And I'm going to pull it up here. But you go back just to the last several years, and it really is impressive to kind of see where they've been with some of these in-state kids. I'm going to pull up this year's class of Tennessee kids. And you've done a good job already landing Tyreek King. You've got an offer in on several guys. They got, Gabe Osenda. In 25, Shekai Mills Knight went to Ole Miss. Sure, you'd love to have had him. Wasn't a make or break. Donovan Starr, Tennessee never even recruited. So again, I don't care about the rankings because that one is what it is. They got George, they got Nick Moore, they got Ethan Utley, Radarius Jackson. That's your next four. Carson Lawrence, they never even recruited. I could do this at every class. And so, don't look at where guys can, maybe ended up. Look, you go back to that 22 class. How many of those guys are still at their current? Walter Nolan went A&M to Ole Miss. Ty Simpson is still at Alabama, has not yet started the game, projected starter this fall. Barryon Browns went from Kentucky to LSU. Keaton Wade went from Kentucky to Colorado, and his brother went Kentucky to Colorado and somewhere else. Fisher Anderson's at Stanford. I think he may have left. Jordan James, fantastic career at Oregon. That's the one miss you did have. And I ain't going to do a million of these, but Dallin Hayden went from Ohio State to Colorado. Patrick Kudus went from Arkansas to Ole Miss. Cody Jones, Michigan, wherever he's at. So, again, I think this staff's done a really good job of offering the kids they truly want and landing a majority of them.
Well, and the class you just ran through with a bunch of those names, Josh Heupel had been in town a hot minute and just haven't years to recruit him. So you almost take that one out and look moving forward for that, and it reinforces your point even more.
Well, 1,000%. You eliminate that one because the NCAA investigations in the dark cloud. But my point is that class, which all went away, how many of them have bounced around? That's just kind of is what it is. And I know that's what you were saying too. But that's the ultimate class to look at because you weren't going to get any of those kids.
Now, here's the thing I will say too, Rob, and Eric, jump in here too. The state, the demographics of the state is different because of the explosion in Nashville. There's orange in Nashville, but there's history of non-orange with families in Nashville because there have been a lot of people move in to the mid-state area that aren't, born and bred and lived their whole life in the state of Tennessee.
I would argue, back when me and you lived and breathed recruiting all the time, you had to own the state to sign 10, 12 kids in Tennessee. Now you don't have to own the state and you can sign, 10 kids just because of the demographic, the explosion. There's so many more players here. There were plenty of years where there weren't 10 guys Tennessee wanted to take.
That's right.
In the early 2000s.
Look at the 23 class. Caleb Herring, Vol. Arion Carter, Vol. Kenny Minchie's a quarterback. You had Nico's. I don't count him. Ty Lockwood went to Alabama, has already left. Shamar Porter never did anything in Kentucky. Bryson Sanders to this point, he's still at Ole Miss, but he's not a factor. Marcel Reed's the starter at A&M, but again, quarterback, you had Nico. Chris Parson, quarterback, you had Nico. Luke Brown never did anything in Arkansas, to my knowledge. London Humphreys went from Vanderbilt to Georgia. That's the top 10. Now, again, I said I was going to do all these, but so when you start looking at them, it's even more glaring, the nice job they've done. In 24, Terrion Grant was by on 3 the number 1 player in the state. Didn't agree with that, but he already went from Purdue to SMU. Andre Evans went from Georgia. It hasn't done anything. Boot Carter, Vol. Caleb Beasley, Vol. Elijah Groves went to NC State. Amari Jefferson went Alabama, back to Tennessee. Max LeBlanc went Ohio State, still there to my knowledge. Marcellus Barnes went Syracuse to somewhere else. I mean, Edwin Spillman's of all. I mean, what I'm saying is the guys that have went elsewhere, most of them haven't stayed at the school they went to.
All right, we'll go to Forever Faithful. Brent, you'll be with Mike Keith moving forward. What is one thing that Mike excels at that sets him apart from the others, in your opinion?
Passion, preparation, and the moment. He does a good job in the moment. You go look at his most notable calls, the Music City Miracle, you knew exactly where the ball was. You go back to his days as the play-by-play guy for Tennessee baseball, and you think about the out that sends Tennessee to Omaha, Todd Helton's year there. I mean, that's a 3-6-3. No, that is a step on the bag at first, 2 to second. The guy came off the bag and he tagged him out there. An unorthodox double play. Yes, there's passion, there's energy in it, but if you go and listen to it, you knew exactly what happened. And I think that, the combination of all those things is what has made Mike elite in his profession for 27 years as the Titans play-by-play voice, and prior to that when he was doing Tennessee baseball and even high school football in Knoxville.
Old Lawyer 83. Do you think coaches may in the future place high school athletes with certain schools to let them get playing time and develop, sort of like minor leagues?
No, I don't think Power 5 or Power 4 coaches are going to have the ability to place a guy at a non-Power 4 school and say, "Hey, I'll get you back in 2 years." I don't think you're ever going to see anything like that. What I do think you're going to see, and Rob, I think this is happening maybe in basketball even more than it's happened in football, is everybody is keeping a log in their evaluations of a guy and going, "Hey, you know what?" And I think you're seeing this in baseball a little bit too.
There's a prominent one right now, yeah.
Yeah, where you say, "Hey, you know what? I want to circle back to that guy in a year or in 2 years. Remember who I am. We may not have a spot for you right now, but we might have a spot if you ever hop into the transfer portal." I think that's happening prominently in basketball.
Yeah, I've had a veteran coach, and it's not just one coach's sentiment, but I've heard it from others, is they want to finish second for everybody and then get them back 2 years later after they've grown up, and then whether you hit or miss. Now they're joking, but they're semi-serious, because that way, you don't want to live in the portal, but at the same time, you're not risking a bad evaluation. I mean,
and basketball's different because of the impact of one guy. You can't necessarily do that in football. But in basketball, you could look at Gillespie, right? I mean, here's a guy, and the impact he can make from where he's at is, here's a guy that was in your backyard, wasn't ready, and now is, and you're bringing him back around. I think it's easier to do in basketball and easier to do in baseball to a degree, right?
I agree.
Yeah, a good example of that, he's a local kid, so it could be a bit different, but Tanner Franklin, they liked him out of high school a lot, didn't have a spot for him. He goes to Kennesaw and, plays a couple of years and develops and all that, and, was playing in the Appy League and playing summer ball and all that, played in the Cape last summer, and then he hits the portal, and Tennessee's like, oh yeah, we got a spot for you now. So it's remember, even if you don't sign or have room or you miss out, you always keep a log so those guys can circle back around if they enter the portal. I think Tanner Franklin's a really good example of that. Let's go to UTJ L36. How's the kicking game looking this spring? We haven't seen much of that, but it's returners at those spots trying to break into new long snapper though.
Yeah, but it's a long snapper I think they're totally comfortable with. He's already snapped in some games. Solansky was terrific, but they're comfortable there. I think that's the one area on the field where you don't have a question, right? I don't think you have to worry about it. Your punter's good, your kickoff guy's good, your place kicker's been good. Your holder's back, so you got a snapper you're comfortable with. That's not been a story this spring because I don't think there's any real competition there right now. I think you're pretty settled with where you are.
Yeah, sidebar, I think it's to sit here and think about it, Matthew Solansky was here for dang near 10 years. He was here forever.
Matthew Solansky Mazzara.
And now you have several better kid.
Now you got Eason and Bailey.
Now you got Bennett Brady, who will be that guy in theory, right? But then you're going to have another Morristown West grad coming in there, potentially. They could be long snapper high, I guess, with John Michael Rosen who Tennessee will bring him in as a long snapper. He's been out a lot of practices this spring, but Bennett Brady's going to get the first crack at that thing.
With the extra fee charged for the player fee for football and basketball tickets, is that already being used for NIL in addition to our current ball club?
I think that money's going in the rev share bucket to help you get to your $20 million. I mean, whatever bucket in all of that is, you want to put it in is wherever you put the bucket in, right?
Yeah, it all goes to the same places.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all needed.
just different avenues.
I mean, it's just the reality. It's all needed.
Go Vols 182. The Prince of Bradley County told me that Boo Carter has a super secret offensive package that's being worked on that includes end around screens, wildcats, so on. Is this actually true, or did the Prince lie? I think, Brent, they're going to try to get the football in the hands of Boo Carter because he's elusive and he's a playmaker. I think all of those things could be ways to get him the football. You know more than me. I don't think that they're practicing any wildcat with him at quarterback, but I think that they're going to be searching for ways to get the football in his hands.
He's practiced on offense every day through 15 practice or through spring practice to this point. He's gotten some offensive reps, to my understanding, every day on the practice field. Tells you there's a pretty serious commitment to it. Is he going to know all the route tree and all the choice routes and all those things? No, it'll be a package deal, but it's pretty clear that they're committed to finding ways to be more explosive on offense, and they feel like he can make them more explosive on offense and use him in some ways. Is that, Austin, is that 8 snaps a game? Is that 20 snaps a game? I don't know. We'll just have to see how he can handle the whole workload. His priority first is on defense, and then we'll see what it grows into after that.
We will go to ThirstyTurtle, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. How do you feel about the Vols' chances in those games, or is it a believe it to see it to believe it with winning in the swamp, winning in Tuscaloosa, and beating Georgia?
No, I mean, you guys know where I'm at. I don't need to answer this question. So
Hubbard's got him going 3-0. I think that's a little ambitious.
Well, I mean, I personally think if you said rate the Tennessee's chances to win the game, I would tell you it is
at
Alabama, Georgia at home,
yep.
Florida last.
I agree.
That's how I would rate it. And some people may put Georgia in front of Alabama because that game's at home. But Tennessee has not beaten Georgia under Heupel. They've beaten Alabama twice in the last 3 years. Both of those were at home, but they were right there. I mean, they were leading at halftime in Tuscaloosa 2 years ago. So I think that the belief factor with beating the Tide is much higher than it would be with Georgia because you've not beat Georgia.
I mean, even in 2021, AP, I mean, Nick Saban was losing his mind there in the fourth quarter, losing his mind. And then
catching deep balls. Yep.
Yeah. With Staley out of Monday's scrimmage, who played the slots? How did they perform? Poster says, I'm guessing Boo, since Jefferson is out as well. Who were some of those guys that played the slot? Now, it is worth noting at Wednesday's practice, we'll see what he does for the Orange and White game, but at Wednesday's practice, Braylon Staley was back and looked to be participating. When we were out there, it didn't look like he had any limitations.
I mean, I think it was walk on. I mean, he had some Tommy Winton, and I think it was, because Sneed was out and some limitations there. Yeah, I just think they were bare bones at the slot position. I think that's why Josh Heupel talked a lot about how well they ran the football in the scrimmage on Monday, because I think they just had some limitations throwing the football in the passing game, particularly at the inside stuff. More tight ends, a little bit less probably work to the slot position.
KrazyEyezKilla, with our portal activity, how much do you see Bishop Boswell's role increasing next season, Rob?
I mean, I think he's right now. I mean, the portal activity's only brought you one guard, so I think he better be ready to have a bigger role. I mean, the staff likes Bishop a lot. I'm not ready until the portal, until the dust settles on the portal and who all they bring in. It's hard to project anything, but as of now, I would think Bishop's going to be a guy that plays. I mean, he's a culture dude. I mean, the fact that he's here, and didn't bolt. I mean, anything could happen, but Bishop, a lot of places, a kid like Bishop that was a top 50 recruit and didn't get on the court hardly at all, his name would have been in the portal right after the Final Horn against Houston. And clearly that's not the case. I think being around Jemai Meshack really rubbed off on Bishop. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be that kind of player, but I think he wants to be that kind of kid, young man in the program, a 4-year guy. And he saw, how everything that came Jemai's way. And I think he wants to do that. As far as minutes, I don't think Bishop's going to start right now. I mean, I think they're hoping to address that, but he needs to be a 20-minute game, a guy 15 to 20 minute as things stand now.
We'll go to Bud Fox. Who do you think was more of a player's coach between Heupel and Fulmer? Do you see many similarities between the two in that respect? Okay, yeah, answer that one first. Who was more of a player's coach?
I don't know. I don't even really know what that term means anymore. It was different for Fulmer, but because if somebody left your program, they had to set out a year. So moving you probably have to be a little more delicate these days than you had
the
to
air
be
is
back
different.
then.
Hover, how many guys you think will be moving from defensive line to offensive line in the current?
Yeah, think about it. You brought in Fred Weary and Cozy Coleman as two defensive tackles, and they practiced about a half day, and then they moved to the offensive side of the ball. Spencer Riley did the same thing. You moved Jason Witten from defensive end to tight end. That's much harder to do in this day and age. So I think your management of your roster is different than it was compared to where Fulmer, because the rules were different that way.
Another question here from Bud_Fox and AP and Brent. You guys both kind of addressed this on Monday, but just a quick rehash. As spring moves along, which position group do you have more concerns over, wide receivers or defensive backs?
Receiver.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with AP just because I think we've seen the secondary play youth and be successful playing youth, including a freshman and Boo Carter last year at nickel. We haven't seen a lot of freshman receivers make big impacts at in this system in year one. So you're going to be counting on some young players, obviously, at the receiver position.
Yeah, just the lack of depth is a big concern.
Zjsvols, will James Pierce be drafted in the first round? What is his ceiling floor in the NFL? It's interesting. It's they're wrapping up these mock drafts, right? And ESPN's Mel Kiper, I think, had him at 32 earlier this week. Jeremiah Trotter, I believe, had him like in the 40s. There's he's kind of all over the map. I don't know if he'll be a first rounder. I think he's kind of right on that bridge, but I do think at minimum, like his floor is a situational third down pass rusher. That's what you're getting into the league to be. His ceiling would be a 3-down player and of course a Pro Bowl type player, but he'll have some work to do before he reaches that.
Yeah, Rob, I just feel like somebody's going to fall in love with him late in the first round. I think somebody's going to look at him late in the first round and go, man, pass rushers in the National Football League are such a premium. Yeah, maybe there's some concerns about this, that, or the other, but if that guy's sitting there late in the first round, I'm just not going to pass on. I'm not going to pass on that deal because those things are not easy to find. Those guys aren't the easiest to find.
I'm with you. I don't think he's going to be a 3-down player. I don't think he holds up against the run at that level, but I don't think it matters. That's such a skill, an important skill to have to rush the passer. It changes everything.
TBVol_7, with the wide receiver core being talented but inexperienced and a little light in numbers, how big of a factor will our tight ends be this year? Will we see them used more vertically in the passing game?
It's all on Ethan Davis because that's the one who can get vertical, AP.
Yeah, Ethan's got to continue to take a jump forward, and I think he has this spring. But I think the coaches are going to tell him he hasn't. Just try to keep the foot on the neck. Let's keep going, right? Not be content with improvement, but want more and more and more. So, he's the most athletic guy in that room. It's not close, at least until Deshaun Brame gets a full go, and then we'll see where he's at.
AP, how big of an impact will the one-time transfer rule have on high school athletics in the Knoxville area?
Yeah, it could have a huge impact. It could, just cause Katie bar the door and mass exodus from schools. And let's face it, it'll be harder and harder for schools that traditionally don't win to keep homegrown players at home.
And correct me if I'm wrong. They denied that, but they made it to where, if you want to transfer, you can transfer, right? It's like the door's kind of open in that regard, correct?
They kind of kicked the can down the road.
Yeah.
And so, most people think it eventually gets there. But when does it get there? So, right now, you have to, you can move around, but it's not as simple as it would be if you just pass the one-time transfer. Then kids don't have to move. They can just kind of stay where they're at and go play wherever they want to go play. And, it'll be on the Brent Hubs of the world to, kick in some NIL money to keep them at Corrington, keep them at Gibbs.
All right, couple more here. Sam Smith, 2233. It's a baseball question. Chris Newstrom at second base this weekend. The kid has to play after the week that he's having. He's on fire right now. I think he's 9 of 9 for his last 12 or 13. He was incredible in the Tuesday game. He was really, really good last weekend. And a Saturday that was so bad for Tennessee, Chris Newstrom was so good. So, yeah, I mean, I don't believe Keelan's going to be playing second base this weekend defensively. I would stay with the hot hand. I think Manny Marin kind of gets a bad rap. Like, I mean, he's been super solid, especially at the plate this year. But yeah, I would play Chris Newstrom at second base starting out this weekend until he's not as hot as he is. I think he deserves to play for sure. SmokeyGray wants to know, Brent talked about last week the unicorns of the program, with Al Wilson being one of those. Let's get Brent's top 3 unicorns of the program on offense and defense since 1985, with Al Wilson and Peyton Manning being excluded. I'll hang up and listen.
Being excluded?
Yes.
I would go Dale Carter, Leonard Little, Eric Berry, with John Henderson as my 4th.
No Jamal Lewis.
Instead, I did defense first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Pay attention, man. Come on, follow along. Offensively, I'm going to go Carl Pickens.
Oh, love that.
Jamal Lewis.
Kelly Washington
over Jalen Hyatt. I mean, in terms of 1-year deal, I mean, both were kind of 1-year guys in a lot of ways. It's a good question on the rest of the offensive guys. Jason Witten at tight end. Rob's thinking. Who am I missing on offense, Rob? Give me somebody. Who am I missing here?
Man, he was. I don't think this is in the spirit of the question was intended, but James Banks was a unicorn in a lot of ways.
Unicorn. I mean,
and if he could have been a unicorn on the football field,
he could have been a terrific player. I'm missing some people on offense.
Former Carson Newman Eagle, great. James Banks.
Charlie Garner.
Yeah, Charlie could be there. Little man Stewart, certainly. Heath Schuler. I mean, changed the quarterback position at Tennessee. He's got to be in there. I mean, how many is that right there? I don't know.
Woody Quinn, Nilo Sylvan.
Those are the.
I tell you, don't ever
we could
think
go
about,
with a list. We could go with a list of non-unicorns.
You don't think about offensive linemen being like this, but Darnell Wright was a freak athletically. I mean,
yeah, I mean, Chad Clifton was a first-round guy out of the gate.
Aaron Sears.
I mean, there's been a lot of those guys. It's hard to think of an offensive lineman though as a unicorn. You're right, Rob. But I mean, Darnell was athletically that was the best point and the easiest point Austin might have made in the last 4 years on the podcast. So like, he's going to blow up when he goes to the combine because he's just going to test out of the waters, and he obviously did. So those are some names. I mean, I would put Jamal for sure, Carl Pickens, Heath Schuler at the quarterback position if you're taking obviously Peyton out of the equation and Al Wilson out of the equation. So there would be 3 right there that would immediately come to mind for me as offensive guys for sure.
Last question, we'll get Andrews of the week. Best fast food pizza spot. Where are you going when you need a fast pizza? I think I know the answer for AP. Would it be Jets? Is that right?
I love Jets.
Yeah.
I do.
Are we just talking chains? Nothing but chains. It's pizza.
You can eat it. Make it your own. You
Pizza
need
Hut
some
all day long. Thin crust pepperoni.
From where?
Pizza Hut. He said.
I said we're just talking chains. Pizza Hut, thin crust pepperoni. It might drop.
Hubs is going to give a little local shout out. I know he is.
No, I mean, here's my thing. If I'm eating in a chain restaurant, that's a national chain, then I want to go sit down and I'll eat Pizza Hut, because Pizza Hut, if you can still get into one, the pizza at the Pizza Hut was always better than any carryout Pizza Hut you would ever get. Now, if I want a thin crust pizza, I'm going to get that cracker crust pizza at Domino's. And if I want a deep dish pizza, I'm maybe willing into Little Caesars and get me a Little Caesars deep dish.
Upset of the day.
Back when I was super, super poor, I lived on Little Caesars, but you couldn't pay me $20 to go get a Little Caesars now.
The deep dish is not bad.
Now, non-chain, Big Ed's obviously. Pizza Palace is mine. I love Pizza Palace. I just hate there's no place to sit. And then now I think who's got really good crust and flavorful crust is the Universal Pizza, which is owned by Aubrey's. It's up there off the Anderson County exit 122.
Rob Lewis is a pizza connoisseur. Rob, give me your non-chain.
Gavino's all day long.
There you go.
Well, you should do you should do one bite. Rob Lewis, one bite. He's like locally Dave Portnoy. He just goes around. He's like one bite. Everybody knows the rules.
Gavino's, Bearden.
I was like 7-4.
New York style.
Snappy tomato here in our part of the woods here. It's phenomenal. The beast. If you got a large gathering over. And then I love the thin crust from the chain pizza inn.
It's not in my neighborhood, but shout out to South Coast and owner Chris Morton.
I will say this on the chain deal, and I guess they're not really a chain. About once a quarter, maybe once every 6 months, I find myself at the Mr. Gaddy's buffet, just for old time nostalgia's sake. Just hit up the buffet. Eat a bunch of questionable pizza, get yourself some cinnamon sticks, and roll on with that. There's a really bad splurge about once every 6 months or so. The Mr. Gaddy's buffet, because when we were in high school, you lived at the Mr. Gaddy's buffet or the Pizza Hut on Friday night.
I haven't been to Mr. Gaddy's since I was like a kid, and so I've asked my wife several times if we can go, and she said, no, you can take your son, which is about the end of the world.
Getting ready to happen, right?
True, but until then, until he's old enough to eat pizza, I'm gonna have to call you because I just want to go in there and see what it looks like, see what it tastes like.
It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed a whole lot in Halls. What did you say, AP?
So what about the Pizza Inn dessert pizza? The chocolate.
I'm not a real dessert pizza guy, other than those cinnamon deals at Mr. Gaddy's. And I can eat my weight in those.
No dessert pizza and no pineapple. Oh my God, that's another podcast, maybe.
That was on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. Pineapple's great on a pizza for me.
Don't you tell that to Catherine, Rob. You may become an enemy.
All right, we're gonna get off here and go get some pizza. Appreciate you guys as always for sending in your questions, your comments, all that and more every single week right here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. So much going on right now, and you can join if you're watching or listening and you're not a member of Volquest.com. $1 for 7 days. You can try us out. Best in town at breaking down what's going on over on the Hill, Tennessee football recruiting, the orange and white game coming up on Saturday. Baseball's happening right now. Transfer portal moving fast for basketball. Transfer portal's about to open up for the spring football. So much happening. Join us over at Volquest.com and on the General's Quarters, the most active and best online community talking Tennessee football. It is the GQ. For Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis, I'm Eric Cain. Austin Price here as well. This has been the Thursday morning Mailbag Podcast right here at Volquest.com.